What's up, everyone? Thralls Metal here once again. I'm Necrotic Nick.
Shredlord.
Jammin Jon.
And we have an album review for you. So, one of the big releases we saw on our radar for the week of the 23rd of September was the new album from Rivers of Nihil, The Work. This comes out on Metal Blade Records. This band formed in 2009 in Reading, Pennsylvania. This is their fourth album overall, and if you're not familiar with them, they might be the reason you keep hearing saxophones in metal songs here lately. With their last album, Where the Owls Know My Name, they pretty much kind of had a big breakout album. I mean, it was on my year-end list for 2018.
Oh yeah, I love that album. I still love that album.
We're listening to that album. That's how much we love it. And I've heard a lot of bands actually throw in saxophones since. And from that album, I definitely sensed that this band was going to change. So they kind of started off as more technical death metal, kind of moving into progressive death metal. And now we're still progressive death metal, but we're more progressive now
than we are death
metal for sure.
Yeah, the balance has sort of shifted on this one. This is a very different album, and well, they clearly put a lot of work into it.
One thing that I noticed right away is, I don't know if it's intentional or not, but there's some awesome BT Bam type worship going on all throughout this album, especially when it comes to the cleans and how the keyboards are being atmospheric while the clean vocals kind of do this very Tommy Giles thing, and it was really cool to listen to.
It's really interesting because you get moments where it's like kind of classic prog keys, like namely the song Clean and The Void from Which No Sound Escapes have some really like kind of 80s prog and 70s prog moments in there, and then the rest of the time they're kind of in the background, kind of setting the mood. And when we say BT Bam, this isn't the upbeat kind of like squirrely fun BT Bam. This is a dark, brooding, somber BT Bam, because the mood on this album is kind of all over the place, but most of the time it's pretty dark and brooding.
I was gonna say, pretty dark and atmospheric and spacey and more jammy, I think, too, than typical for these guys.
We kind of got a little sample of that when they put out the singles Focus and Clean, both very different songs. Focus is almost kind of like Rivers of Nihil mixed with Deftones. Like it kind of has like the straight Deftones kind of feel, a straightforward groove. It's one of the more straightforward songs on here. Big catchy chorus, and
to me it sounded like something that could have appeared on as a B-side on the Strangeland soundtrack.
Yeah, probably one of the best song on that soundtrack.
Yep.
Yeah, it wasn't that great.
Yeah.
If you watched our retro.
If you did.
If they were going to go to the well, at least they went to some good wells.
Yes.
Yeah.
We threw around names like Smashing Pumpkins. We threw around names like the Deftones, a little Radiohead.
Nine Inch Nails.
Definitely
to me.
Perfect Circle.
Yep.
So the well was damn good wells, but it was an interesting blend to throw on this album with some of these death metal tinges.
You get some serious like manic flips in mood on here. Episode, which is long, ugly, and just dark. Even the softer moments on there with the clean vocals, which clean vocals are kind of a big thing on this album. Very just kind of sullen and depressing. And then when the big heavy comes in, it's doom-laden, it's just nasty, and that giant hook at the end, while it is sort of like, you know, big and powerful, it's like big and powerfully doomy. But then you flip to Maybe One Day, and we're happy. We're kind of
really
happy. Like a field of flowers, maybe skipping, or maybe just walking around. I don't know.
They had a good day during the pandemic.
Just one. You're allowed one.
Maybe One Day too, I think, is going to be one of their more accessible tunes.
Easily.
Like, because this is the one I compared to the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yes.
Like, overall, this has a more just kind of straight rock feel to it. And clean vocals are the kind of meat and potatoes of this song.
Acoustic guitars and you know, like some really cool vocal harmonies in there.
It sounds like a lullaby in the beginning.
Yeah. I'm not like really soothing me to sleep because I was definitely engaged. And in terms of the softer moments on here, this was probably the best of them. The one we all had questions on was Wait. Now, this is the third track in the album, and it goes from Dreaming Black Clockwork, which is obscenely heavy.
Yes.
And stank face for days.
Yes.
And then ends on Blistering Noise, which kind of goes on a little too long, but I get it. You wanted to be heavy. And then it goes to a song that sounds like an ELO song.
Kind of like
It's so
Queens of the
different
Stone
than
Age.
anything else on this
Yes,
album.
it is easily the most different track on here. I don't know what's going on here because they kind of shoehorn in some harsh vocals on here too, but it sounds like he's all the way at the end of a hallway, and I don't know, like they just try to find a way to include the harsh vocals in there, but it's like a weird pop song.
This was the only song on the album that didn't really work for me.
And where it comes on the album, it's the third track. Like if this was track 8, you had time to kind of absorb everything on here with, you know, giant blistering tracks, and then like, oh, okay, we're gonna have like a little pleasant interlude. That would make more sense, but coming at the third track, kind of an odd choice.
While heavy isn't the dominant thing on this album, it does still appear.
Oh yeah.
The track More. It's like 3.5 minutes of just blistering.
And you want more.
Rivers of Nihil.
Yeah.
The drums are nuts. It's blasts all over the place. Chuggy riffs. It's the first time it sounds like Rivers of Nihil.
I mean, it sounds like Rivers of Nihil in moments in songs. Like, you know, you get like moments like in Clean, like there's a giant breakdown in there and even some blast beats on there, but that is not the overall feel of the song. And then even in Episode, big death metal moments in there, but that's only just part of a longer song. More is just pretty much a death metal song.
Yep.
It's very similar to the stuff you would hear in the first 2 albums, maybe some more atmospheric stuff in between, but yeah, that's the only thing in terms of like, if you were only familiar with the first 2 albums of Rivers of Nihil, this is the only thing that would sound familiar to you. If you were familiar with, you know, Where the Owls Know My Name, this actually will sound pretty much like what you'd expect, because honestly, this album feels like kind of the next logical transition from that album.
But maybe they skipped a step in between.
That's the thing.
Yeah, that's what we were talking about.
I think they skipped one step in between.
Like there should have been a little bit more of like a carryover, like in terms of like the more death metal moments, in terms of like the technical death elements.
Right, if you're gonna go prog, that's fine, but throw in some progressive elements, some more progressive elements than you had on From Where Owls Know My Name, but not go full bore like this right off the bat.
Because this is pretty committed to being very progressive.
Yes.
But it still manages to stay dark and heavy and foreboding. Like that is the mood overall. Like minus Wait and maybe One Day and maybe the interlude Tower 2. It's heavy. It's dark, it's brooding, and I don't know, like I can kind of really get into it. This whole album has like a really interesting flow. Like it kind of flows as one uniform piece really well. So individual songs don't stand out as well as if you're listening to it as a whole album, I guess.
Yep.
Another song that we absolutely all could agree on is the final track, Terrestrial for The Work. It is pretty much the grand final opus of this album, and it takes every ingredient that we've seen so far in this album mix, and it really serves it up on a silver platter and goes balls out, all out. And this track is definitely a highlight of the album.
Dude, all the wild transitions, the brutal moments, the soft moments, like everything's pretty much in here, but God, it's just intense. Like it's an intense, engaging listen. The musicianship is, well, unbelievable on this entire album. But I mean, they flat out show the fuck off on this one.
Yeah, this is pretty much a culmination of the entire album, you know, all of where they wanted to go, all of what they were trying to do, showcased into one 11.5-minute song. And they don't really waste any time in here.
No. I mean, you got like about a minute sort of lead in with like kind of a cinematic kind of an intro.
Like an alien invasion.
I was going to say, it sounds like Alien. Like, you know, this is what you're playing when you're walking down the hallways with just the flashlight. Like, fuck, this thing's going to kill me. It kind of sets it up like that, and then blast off. You are just going nuts throughout the song.
Yep.
And this album is just, I don't know, it's kind of sitting oddly with me, but I like it. And that's the kind of interesting thing here. Like, outside of maybe one track, like one whole track, I didn't like in here. Everything else I really liked, and it's just very different, and it's kind of jarring from the last one, but again, they did it really well. And I kind of like the fact that this is just a very ambitious album. They wanted to try a lot of different things, and I think for the most part it was pretty successful because they came out with a really engaging, interesting album.
And one of the final things I wanted to talk about is the guitars. While I feel like maybe in the atmosphere, sometimes the guitars got lost, the one thing that did stand out on a guitar standpoint for me was the leads.
Yep.
I thought that they were done really, really well. Nothing was overly technical or over the top, but it was done and constructed in an awesome, beautifully melodic way that just lent itself great to the songs and the section. And there was even a track towards the end, I believe it was... Oh, the final track, Terrestrial 4.
Yep.
There's this blast beat section going on, and in my mind I would think of something like Crazy Fast, to try to keep up with, or accent the double bass, but he's almost just like, it's almost like a galloping pace with the lead, and it's almost like epic and triumphant sounding over this blast beat part, which I thought was really unique and interesting. And as a guitar player, I think that's a section that stood out to me, one of the sections that stood out to me the most. I just thought it was a unique pairing, and it was pretty cool.
I mean, Rivers of Nihil has always been really great with the leads. Those guys are definitely no slouches when it comes to guitar players.
A lot of feel.
Yeah, but the way they handled this album as a whole, in particular, had a lot more feel and a lot more emotion in it, and it wasn't necessarily about playing, blazing fast technical as much as it was fitting the mood, the dark mood of all these songs.
A lot of this is about setting the mood. I really like the lead on the end of Clean. I thought it was just kind of like slow, somber, and melodic, like almost kind of like, Pink Floyd-y in a way, but of course, metal. But yeah, overall, this is a really interesting listen, and I think it's going to take more listens for me to really, really get into all this, because there's a lot of stuff on here to really process.
Yes.
But I like it, and I think it's a really interesting step, maybe forward for this band. I don't know, because they already made a huge leap forward with the last one. I don't know. This is maybe a step over to the side from the forward step.
Yeah, I don't know.
I just hope they don't pull a contortionist and go.
Yep.
No.
And go
really far.
Right, and go really, really far off the deep end.
Keep it metal, guys.
Yep.
This is still heavy. This is still brutal when it needs to be. And yeah, don't go completely soft, even though it seems as though you'd be good at that too. Don't do it. We need the heavy stuff. So overall, I'm going to give this 4 stars. I dig this album. It's very engaging. Again, very ambitious to really just kind of take a step away from, what you did in the last album, which was really successful. But I like that we don't want to repeat ourselves. We want to do something new. And this is definitely different. This is not a repeat of the last album at all. It has just a prevailing dark, brooding mood. There's some solid hooks on here. I like the fact that they included more clean vocals. There's a lot of vocal dynamics in general. Great guitar work. It's missing a little bit of the intensity, but I don't know, I feel like it did replace some of that with cool atmosphere, but still, for me, that's not the biggest trade-off. But still, this is really good, and I strongly recommend checking this out.
I'm also going to give it a 4. This is like the 4th time today I've heard this album. I really enjoy what they've done here. I mean, I've always been a pretty big Rivers of Nihil fan, but it was cool to see them kind of take the road that I thought they were going to take. Coming off of From Where Owls Know My Name, I thought, well, they're kind of going to get more progressive. And they did. It's a big jump. It's a really big jump.
Yes, it is.
And like we've all said, I think a thing I could take away from this is maybe not go that heavy into a jump, but I think they were able to experiment also without necessarily alienating their fan base. Well, there's probably going to be some people that don't like it. There's definitely going to be some people that do like it, and I think if you're a fan of music, you're probably really going to enjoy this, just as I did, so definitely go out and listen to it.
I gotta agree with these guys. 4 out of 5. I feel a little differently about this album maybe than they do. I would think that in a way this album could be a little bit shorter in some spots.
Yeah.
There's a short filler track, and some things maybe necessarily didn't have to be as long. That is just personal opinion bullshit. It doesn't matter. The other thing about it is I definitely could have used more of the heft and less of the pop experimentation.
Yeah.
However, what they lacked in heaviness, I felt like they made up for in creativity.
Yep.
It is an enjoyable listen. There definitely still is heft on here.
Oh, yeah.
I'm hoping the next album doesn't go too far over the cliff, but this is a really unique album to add to their catalog, and definitely no slouch either, so 4 out of 5.
I'd like to actually see like a mix of the last two.
Yeah, mix, right, exactly.
There, get the balance right, and boom, you have probably another year ender. So, if you enjoyed this review, give it a thumbs up. And if you are new to the channel, subscribe, because we do stuff like this all the time. We are also on Patreon. If you would like to help us out there, just check out the link below. We also have t-shirts available at thrallsofmetal@gmail.com. We are eventually going to reload on those, but we still have larges, extra larges, probably some double X's, maybe a small. I don't know. I haven't checked the shirts lately, but I'm reasonably sure they're there, and all you have to do is send an email to us there, and we'll get you an invoice. We also have a giveaway going on for when we hit 7,500 subs. It's magical. Actually, getting to 7,500 is pretty damn magical, and thank you everyone who got us there so far.
Each and every one.
So as a reward to one lucky winner, we have a stack of 8 CDs that also includes the new Cannibal Corpse album, which absolutely fucking rips, and it has the uncensored artwork. And
sexy.
I kind of want it, and I almost want to switch out my copy, but I'm not going to do it because reasons.
No bueno. No bueno.
Anyway, all you have to do is click the link below for the giveaway video and comment on there, and you are entered. It is that easy. So with that, we thank you for watching, and we will catch you later.